Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel, The Tech Jupiter. This will be the first video of the playlist MySQL. So what topics we are going to discuss today in the first lecture are: what is a database, what is database management system, what are the types of the databases, and the basic difference between the two types of the databases. So before I start, I would just like to give you some rough examples, or you can say easy examples, so that you can understand the database quite easily. So we live in a world where we have the organizations, we have the institutions, we have the governments, we have a lot of things, right? So for example, if I take about an organization, like just take an example of company XYZ. So that XYZ company will have the data. The data will be with respect to the employees, with respect to the customers or the clients, with respect to the job locations, with respect to the you can say the money, the revenue they are achieving. So all of this will be stored somewhere. So the place where all of this data is stored is called as database. The place where the data is stored is called as database. Now, for example, if I talk about the company like Amazon, we all know is one of the e-commerce website, or you can say an e-commerce company which delivers the stuffs or the goods to the customers. So if I take example of the Amazon will be having the data with respect to the customers. So what that data will contain, it will have the name of the customer, the first name and the last name. It will have the phone number, it will have the addresses, it will have the the number of orders, it will be having the date of orders placed, the amount of money they spend, everything will be there. So this all data will be stored somewhere. So the place where this all data is stored is known as database. So if I go to the definition of the database is actually a collection of data stored in a format that can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. So now, why these terms are used: accessed, managed, and updated? So for example, if I say that at any point of time I need the data for John, who is a customer for me, it should be easily retrievable. It should not be difficult for me to retrieve. I can easily access the data for John, and I can get what orders he has done so far, how much money he or she have spent so far. So this is just like, you can say, it can be easily accessed at any point of time. It is managed also easily. It should not be difficult to manage it. It should be very easy to manage the database. And the updation, when I talk about the updation, it means, like for example, now I was just talking with respect to the customer. Now I will talk with respect to the employee. So for example, the Amazon is having an employee. So they hired a new employee, or maybe there was an employee who got promoted. So I must be able to update the database with respect to the new job role, or with respect to the new person that was hired. So I can update the data of that person who was promoted or was hired in the database. So that updation must be easy for me. So we all know that some of the companies that use the databases are banks, bank accounts, right? The banks, you can say, the Amazon, you can say, Flipkart. In India we have. So there are so many companies which actually have database, and they use this database. So in a nutshell, the database is a collection of data stored in a format that can be easily. So now we will be starting the second topic of the lecture, which is the database management system. So the full form of the DBMS is database management system. So basically, it's an interface between the end user and the database to insert, delete, and update the data. So we can use other queries too to manipulate the data. So I must say, so if I go to the technical definition of database, it's a software system that is used to manage and manipulate data in database. By manipulation, you can consider insert, delete, update, and you can also consider the other functions or the functionalities that we will be performing on the data using the different types of queries, like grouping the data, like you can say retrieving some data from it. So all those come under the manipulation of the data. So now I will just show you with the help of a diagram how it works basically. So if I say this is a user on his computer. Now this is a database management system, DBMS. And now here we have a database. This is basically a database. Now the user will go ahead and give some kind of command, or you can say he or she will write some query to fetch the data. So he is basically interacting with the database management system, which is basically a software. Now this DBMS will in turn interact with the database. It will fetch the required data and then get back to the database management system, and then it will reflect on the user's PC. So we have different examples of the database management systems. So I will just give you a few of them. So for some of them are Firebase, MongoDB, Cassandra, MySQL or PostgreSQL. There's MariaDB. So this is the final topic for the today, the types of the databases. So we have two types of database. One is SQL, or you can say relational database, and another one is NoSQL database or non-relational database. So these are the two types of the databases which we will discuss in the next lecture. But right now I will just give you the differences between both of them. So when it comes to the relational database, or you can say SQL database, they use structured query language, that's the SQL. But when it comes to NoSQL, they have their own query language. The data in relational database is stored in the form of tables and rows. And in NoSQL databases display data as collection of key value pair, documents, graph, databases, or wide column stores. SQL databases have fixed or static or predefined schema. So they have a static, or you can say predefined schema. NoSQL databases have a dynamic schema. So you can just consider like the SQL is having a static schema, and whereas NoSQL has dynamic schema. The examples of the relational databases are DBMS, SQL, PostgreSQL, etc. And the examples of the NoSQL databases are Firebase, Cassandra, Redis, etc. So guys, this is the end of this lecture today. We'll see you soon in the next lecture, where we will be discussing on the relational database in detail. See you later.